you, my dear Earnest? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else should bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algie.
I believe it's customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
When one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It is excessively boring.
And who are the people you amuse?
Oh, neighbours.
What nice neighbours in Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
Mentally, you must amuse them. Shropshire's your county, is it not?
Shropshire. Yes, of course. Hello. Why are all these cups? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who is coming to tea?
We were Aunt Augusta and Gwendolyn.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is perfectly disgraceful. 'Tis almost as bad as the way Gwendolyn flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolyn. I have come up to town expressly to propose to her.
Come up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
I really don't see anything romantic in proposing. 'Tis very romantic to be in love. But there's nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why, one may be accepted, one usually is, I believe, and the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. Whether I get married, I'll certainly try to forget the fact.
I have no doubt about that, dear Algie. The divorce court was specially invented for peoples whose minds are curiously constituted.
It's no use speculating on that subject. Divorces are made in heaven. Please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They are ordered specially for Aunt Augusta.
Well, you have been eating them all the time.
That is quite a matter. She is my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted to bread and butter.
And very good bread and butter it is too.
My dear fellow, you need not eat it if you're going to eat it all. You behave as if you are married to her already. You are not married to her already, and I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't. 'Tis a great truth. To account for the extraordinary number of bachelors that all over the place. I don't give my consent.
Your consent.
My dear fellow, Gwendolyn is my first cousin. Before I allow you to marry her, you'll have to clear up the whole Oh, Cecily.
Cecily. What on earth do you mean? What do you mean, Algie, by Cecily? I don't know anyone of the name Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined.
Do you mean to say you've had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you would let me know. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was nearly offering a large reward.
Wish you would offer one. I happen to be more hard up.
There's no good offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
Mean of you, Ernest, I must say. But it makes no matter for. Now that I look at the inscription inside, I find that the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times. And you have no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It's a very ungentlemanly thing to read what is written in a private cigarette case.
It is absurd. I have a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't read. More than half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
I am quite aware of the fact, and I don't propose to discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one should talk of in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case was a present from someone of the name of Cecily, and you said you didn't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes. Charming old lady she is too. Lives at Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, Algie.
But why does she call herself Little Cecily? She aunt lives at Tunbridge Wells. From Little Cecily, her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. It is a matter that surely an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. You seem to think every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. That is absurd. For heaven's sake, just give me back my cigarette case.
Yes, but why does your little Aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, call you her dear uncle? From little Cecily, with her fondest love, to her dear Uncle Jack. There's no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt, but why an aunt, no matter what size may be, should call her nephew her uncle? I can't quite out. Besides, your name isn't it's Ernest.
It isn't Ernest, it's Jack.
You've always told me it was Ernest. I've introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. You're the most earnest-looking person I ever saw in my life. Just perfectly absurd. You're saying that your name isn't Ernest. It's on your cards. And here is one of them. Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I'll keep this as proof that your name is Ernest. If ever you try to deny it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country, and the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes. But that doesn't account for the fact that your little aunt who lives at Tunbridge Wells calls you her dear. Come on, boy, you don't have to do it once.
My dear fellow, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. It's a very vulgar thing for one to talk like a dentist, especially when one isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression.
That is exactly what dentists always do. Now, go on. I mentioned that I have always did you of being a confirmed and secret bum priest? Quite sure of it now.
Bunburyist. What on earth do you mean by Bunburyist?
I'll reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to inform me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the...
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now, use your explanation and try and make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there is nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it is perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle for motives of respect that you could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Is that place in the country? By the way.
That is nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you candidly that the place is not in Shropshire.
I suspected that, my dear fellow. I have bumbried all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear Algy, I don't know whether you'll be able to understand my real motives. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one must adopt very high moral tones on all subjects. It is one's duty to do so, and as high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce one's health or one's happiness, in order to get up to town, I have always pretended to have a younger brother of the name Earnest, who lives in the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear Algy, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be very tedious if it were either. Modern literature a complete impossibility.